and welcome to Twitchy. This is Twitchy. It's our podcast where we talk about things that are queer and things that are Twitch related, and we have ADHD, so we just talk about whatever the fuck we want. Today we have our first guest! Yay! I'm so excited. Our first guest is Blobarella. Blob is an iconic streamer extraordinaire on Twitch.
Legend.
Club, another club.
I feel like I'm
oversold
just a little bit here.
No, Blob, when we first talked, we were like,
expectations.
you were the first person on our list that we thought of when we were like, who can we reach out to like join?
Literally the first person on our list.
See this? Do you see these cheeks getting redder? Like, I can't handle
You're gonna
it.
start looking like me!
Listen, the rosacea's really bad as is. Like, you make me blush a little bit, it's gonna be like off the rails. So
We love it.
Looking
We
like
love
very
it.
cabbage patchy.
My goal for the podcast is to now get you to blush and to sneeze.
Blushing and sneezing.
Oh. Two of my super favorite things. Incredibly difficult to make me blush. I'm not someone that's like easily like phased, but like if people like pay me compliments, I'm like, I can't. Like, help.
Well, you're about to get complimented. They're coming.
No.
We haven't asked our first question yet, and Blob's already like, "What have I done?"
I'm just like, I'm trying to think. I'm like, am I interesting enough to like actually bring something to this today? And I was like, I know I stream for like 5 hours at a time. And I never shut up the entire 5 hours. But it's like, do I actually say anything interesting? And then like as soon as I end stream, I'm like, what just happened?
Exactly. I do the same thing. There are times where I'll literally, I'll text Fudge, and I'll be like, "Is this even funny? What am I doing right now?" And he'll be like, "No, it's funny. You're great. It's fine." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" I've been sitting here for 4.5 hours.
I look back at clips and I'm like, I said that? I did that?
Right? I'm like, wait a minute. Like, people like send me clips of like things that happen. I'm like, that didn't actually happen. I was like, do I just like black out and go like full stream of consciousness for 5 hours? Because I kind of feel like it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like when you're driving without GPS and like you know where you're going, so you like then all of a sudden you're there and you're like, I don't remember turning on any roads. How did I get here?
So like I have like a pretty like typical like routine, like, and I'm in the car like a few times a week, especially like driving my kids to and from dance. And so this is a trip that I've taken over, I've been taking this trip for like 10 years, several times a week. And let me tell you, like, there are times when I'm like, I just ended up from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I remember nothing about the drive, like completely gone. Like,
That's
how
what
did I
streaming
get
feels
there?
like.
It's like, yeah, it's like seriously, it's like you start and then you end and it's like, okay, what?
It's delirious.
Yeah, I've recently started dabbling in edibles, and I had an edible. I found a brand that I like. And
Queenie's done a weed now. Queenie's done a weed.
I've done a weed.
She's
a weed queen. But I found a brand that I like, but it like makes me feel like you're like suspended in water and like you get the whooshy feeling, you know? It's very fun. But
so I'm guessing the strain is indica because you feel
so
indica.
it's like a blend. It's
hybrid?
like
Okay.
10 THC, but I think it's a blend of indica and sativa. And then it's also 10 milligrams of CBG, which I think is a fancy new thing that's similar to CBD. I don't know.
In Alabama, you get what comes in the Piggly Wiggly bag that the guy hands to you in your car window, and you don't ask questions. I have no idea what I'm smoking.
I got it.
You're like, I don't know what it is, but it's gonna do.
He's like,
job.
It could
good.
be
I'm
basil.
like,
At this point, it could be basil.
It could be oregano. I'm still gonna smoke it.
But there was 2 separate times that I went to this dispensary, and both times there was a girl who recommended, like 2 separate girls that recommended this brand, and I was like, all right. And the girls were girly. They know what's up. But I took one before my stream on Friday, and then I played a new game. And I know I did 2 run-through of it. Like, I know I got 2 different endings, but I was trying to think about it today, and I was like, what was the other ending? I don't remember anything about that storyline at all. And I'm like, I'm gonna like play the game tonight and end up in the same story. And people are gonna be like, Queenie, you've already done this. I'll be like, it's fucking new to me. Like,
Brand
might
new.
be recorded doing this, but like, I don't remember.
You know what I call
Or
that
like-
feeling that you feel when you're suspended in water? I call it the dentist chair. when I get really high, I'm like, all right, I'm in the dentist chair. Because that's what it feels like when they give you the laughing gas and you're like laying there and everything tingles. I'm like, it's dentist chair time. And I'll work my way up. Like I'll smoke a little. My friends will be like, where are you? I'll be like, I'm in the sitting room. I'm not there yet. I'm in the waiting room. I've already filled out the paperwork.
Haven't been called back.
Right.
We're getting there.
And then a couple minutes later, I'm like, dentist chair. And they know that means Marv goes to bed.
That's so funny.
That's the sleepy time. And it's interesting because like, for legal reasons, I definitely don't do this here in Texas, only in states where it's legal. But
when you came to visit me in Seattle.
Yeah. So I call it is like the floaty feeling or like the body tingles and like, but like it's interesting because like obviously like the different strains like give you different effects. Like sativa and I do not get along for whatever reason. Indica, I'm like, bye, it's bedtime. Like that's when I know I want to like just really go to sleep. The hybrid is like kind of like that sweet spot where I can kind of like exist, but like I feel good. And I can like still like function. Not function well, but I can still function and hold on conversations that I have no idea what I'm saying. And I'm like, I'll realize I'm like, have I been talking for a really long time? What did I just say? I think I said nothing and I just kind of like had half said.
I think I said nothing.
I don't know if I said anything. I feel that way too. I just feel that in normal conversation though, where like we'll be out with friends or something like that, and then in the car ride home, I'm like, oh my god, am I the most annoying person to exist ever? Did I dominate that conversation? Did anybody say anything else? And like my spouse will just be like, take a breath, you're fine. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I don't feel fine.
I feel like that on the podcast. We'll like talk for an hour and I'll be like, Queenie, how many questions did we get through? And Queenie's like, 3. And I'm like, oh.
You're like,
yeah. That part is so funny. Or my favorite is now like my mods or my friends will text me and be like, oh my god, I can't believe you said that. Or my mod came into chat the other day, was like, I'm watching Twitchy right now and I just heard the story about you Naruto running out of the elevator and I can't stop laughing. And I'm like, what do you mean?
I kept that in. I kept that story in.
It's so funny. But it's true. It's ridiculous. But
I don't know. I feel like I've like reached the point where I've like told so many stories that like I don't think anybody is shocked by anything that comes out of my mouth.
I can't do 2 truths and a lie because I've already told everybody. Everything that's ever happened to me interesting is out there.
I do not hold back with this shit. Like, especially, it's so funny because, like, I would say, like, I'm a pretty, like, boring old lady now. I've got my routine. I'm more of a homebody. But let me tell you, in a very short period of time, I had a lot of things happen. I am not ashamed to tell those stories. Although, I've definitely had some funny stories, like, as an adult. That, you know, like with pregnancy and then like also post surgery, there's like been a lot of like close calls, like where I've almost like pooped myself, you know, like those
yeah, you told that story on stream the other day.
You heard it here, folks. It only gets better.
Yeah, check out Blob's stream if you want to hear stories about her shitting herself nearly.
Early 20s, it was all about like going out and partying and then like getting on bars and flashing people. Yes, I did that a lot. Now it's just about like, you know, playing a like game of shit roulette. Like you just don't know.
It's funny though. Interesting. It's funny for me to hear stories about like people like being pregnant because years ago I wanted to be pregnant and then I found out I was infertile as a whole thing. And now I think back and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck was that stupidest thing for me to have gotten pregnant. First of all, I don't really think I want to be pregnant. And second of all, I was in nursing school. And I was like, I could have been pregnant in nursing school? No, bitch. No, you couldn't. Like,
oh
damn.
God, no,
you know it's bad when like when God is like, girl, let me just throw you some infertility so you don't have to be pregnant in nursing school. Now I'm
clearly you're not making good choices.
Literally, it's so fun. And now like there's that list, that girl on TikTok makes yeah, and everybody like all the moms are like, why is she doing this? And I'm like, because people like me think sometimes that they want to have babies, and then we read that shit, and I'm like, fuck no, I will stick with my dog. I will be a fantastic aunt.
Like, the reality is some women actually, like, really love being pregnant.
Yeah.
They love the whole, like, process. I was not someone who enjoyed pregnancy. Uh, excuse me. I didn't enjoy it. It was, like, really rough on my body, for a number of reasons, including the fact that I had, like, PCOS and endometriosis, and, you know, I had these, like, big like, I am not a tall woman. I'm 5'2". My husband is 6'5". Both of my kids were, like, 8.5 pounds and 21 inches long, and I am a short torsoed bitch. And let me tell you, having that much baby in this little of torso, not comfortable at all. Like,
My
it was
God.
not good. And then I also had something called polyhydramnios, which is like where you have like too much amniotic fluid. And so, like, on top of big baby, I was like just big, like Olympic sized swimming pool, I guess, for said baby. So it was it was a lot happening there.
And both
And
of them
like,
were 8 pounds?
they were both 8.5 pounds. One was 21 inches, the other was 21 1/4 inches. So they were not small babies. They were not small babies. But
I
yeah.
can't imagine.
I don't think I could do
Well,
it.
you think about like if you've ever like seen it, like I've seen a video before where it kind of like shows like as like the baby grows, like what happens to all of your organs in the inside and everything. And I was like, I can't like it's so freaky to think about like all that your body does in order to produce a human child. So
Yeah, nursing school. I had a whole semester where I've seen women give birth. I could actually help assist a woman give birth if I was ever in that situation. I'm physically adequately prepared, mentally not sure. You know, but like the pubic symphysis is where like your hip bones join in the front, like in a pubic bone, and it's like this little. It's almost like glue, right? And they stick together like this. And then when you're pregnant, your body releases enzymes to dissolve that glue. So your hips, like your hip bones that are normally like this, they start growing apart. And so when women, that's why they waddle, is because their fucking hips are detached. Ah! like
absolutely
it's nuts.
not.
And so like that's why you're not like you women don't want to sleep, or pregnant people don't want to sleep on their side because they've got this fucking pubic bone that is like it's.
Let me tell you, after my kids were born and I could like roll over onto my stomach again or like sleep, I was like, it's the best thing ever. But yeah, it is wild. And like I think something that they don't talk about also is that like a lot of your ligaments like start like loosening up so that like your body can stretch and like do things. And so like your body is a lot more clumsy from that. You also have like reduced blood flow to your brain because it's like going towards the baby. So it actually literally does make it more difficult for you to like think, focus, concentrate. Like, so when people say I feel like I have pregnancy brain, it's actually a legitimate thing because you have less blood flow to your brain and your brain actually shrinks during pregnancy. And it does not fully come. Marcus, like,
It's a no from me, dog. It's a no from
for
me.
life right now. Mark,
Yeah.
this is gonna be such a fun conversation with Blob, and now we've just teamed up
You're
to
welcome.
ruin her life.
I didn't know your organs move. I'm still stuck. I'm like miles behind y'all right now, still processing.
Yeah,
or
like
so like a lot of like this like gets shifted up into your like chest and everything. That's also like you think about like the compression that you have from everything trying to move and shift out of the way. Like it's part of why women get like heartburn, especially like late pregnancy, the more like squished things are. It's just because literally your stomach is like being compressed, so it's like forcing the acid like into your esophagus and stuff.
or that's why women or pregnant people pee when they laugh or sneeze. It's why anybody, like after you give birth, it's why you've had this bowling ball sitting on your bladder, and so when you've already got something sitting there and then you add a little bit more like muscle tension, that's why you pee.
See,
and that's why like older women pee a lot.
I already pee a lot. I am already forgetful. I'm already clumsy. I already waddle. I sleep on my stomach. I don't think it's a no from me, dog. I don't know.
I literally, like, if I feel sneezes coming on, the first thing I do is I like go sit on the toilet so I can like just like pee and like pee myself. I'm like, I know if I feel a sneeze attack coming on, it's time to just go pee and get it out.
Yeah. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go to our first question for Blob.
Absolutely horrify you. You're welcome.
No, my favorite part is that like we've just discussed something that's like so it's like a little intimate. And then my first question is, "What's your name and how'd you get it?"
Everyone, this is the beginning of the podcast. So, Blobarella, and it's actually interesting how that came about. Because I actually started on Twitch with a very, very different name.
I remember this name because that's
I
how I met you.
don't.
I met you under this other
I've
name.
only known you as
So,
Blobarella.
so I actually started with a different name, which was Mermaid. I'm okay like saying it now. I think like the issues have been dealt with, but it was MMRMAID because MMR are my initials. I wasn't planning on streaming at the time. That was just like my username. And then there was an incident, like a very scary, like almost doxing incident where someone from my daughter's school came into my chat. Like they found me, came into my chat and said, "I know your daughter." And I was like, absolutely not. We're going to end here. You bring my like kids, because I'm very like private about my family. They do not choose to be internet clowns like me. They do not choose to have an online presence. Like that is me. So I'm very like good about like protecting their privacy. Also, like my kids can't consent. They're 18 years old. Like they can't consent to me like putting all of their information or talking about them or like posting pictures and stuff. So I don't post pictures even because they just can't consent. And like imagine you have like a parent that has like some sort of like online presence or following, and people have like watched like your pictures for years and watch you grow up. So there's like safety issues and things like that, but also they may not be comfortable with that when they get older and they may not be happy about it. But so I'm very private. So like that was something that just like immediately I was like, no, we can't have this happening. Like I was very scared. I didn't really know. And I found out later that it was a classmate of hers that he was planning to continue. Like, even though I banned, you can make multiple accounts with like a single email on Twitch. Like, it's not that hard. Um, and he said he was going to keep coming into my chat and harassing me, and like bothering, and like he was going to like keep it up just to bother her. So what I did is I actually took like an extended hiatus and break and took some like online safety measures to protect myself a little bit more, but then also went through this like whole rebrand.
How early was this into your streaming?
So I started streaming May of, like, I would say like really May of 2021. Like my first stream was like the end of April, but then I had like, because I think it was April 30th, and then I had surgery on May 5th. So, perfect timing for me to start streaming is like 5 days before a big surgery. So then I took time to recover, and I didn't really come back and like stream again until the end of May. And this happened
It was like
November.
October, November. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like November of 2021. So I hadn't been streaming that long, like, half a year, 6 months. So it was a good lesson to learn pretty early on. But and while it was like very scary and everything, it was actually like kind of a really cool opportunity to approach Twitch knowing that I was going to be a streamer, as opposed to like coming in as a viewer and then eventually going into streaming. So I got to like kind of like really think about the whole, like I say brand and like rebranding, but like I got to think about like what I really wanted to like represent and like what I felt would be fun for me. So I had like all of this like sea themed stuff already, and I didn't want to have to completely redo everything, but I had this like one single little blobfish emote that I loved. And I was like, what if I just like went for like a whole blobfish theme? Like, what if I made that my little mascot, and all of like my emotes were blobfish because they all used to be me previously with the old name. And I was like, so now I've got to like think of names that like kind of play off the whole blobfish thing. I was like, so I wanted it to be blob or something in there somewhere to show blobfish. And I looked at like I talked about so many different names. Like Blob Ross was one that came up. Millie Blobby Brown was one that I thought about using. God, I think like I had like a pretty long list, and like I was getting ideas from friends. Like one friend as a joke was like, I think you should just rebrand to Just Tits. And I was like, yeah, that's gonna go over really well, especially if I ever want to make partners. They're gonna be like, yeah, let's move it to Just Tits. But as I was like talking through all of this, I had like I was actually like pretty close to just like picking Millie Blobby Brown, like because I thought
So
that
funny.
one was funny. It made me laugh. But
I remember your Blob Ross stream. I was in that.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun. It was hard, but it was a lot of fun to do. And someone, I mean, like, I should give credit. Buffboy Games suggested Blobarella, and I was like, that's good, but like, I like Millie Blobby Brown because it's funny. But he had some like good points about it, and I was like, well, let me just like ask people, and Blobarella, like by far, like won from the community. So everything changed over to Blobarella, and that's how that name came about.
I think
like,
you
it
should.
was literally based off of one little emote that I decided to redo my entire brand.
I love that so much. I think you should name your bot, like in your chat or in your Discord, Millie Blobby Bot. I think that would be funny.
Right now it's Botfish.
Oh, that's cute too.
Millie Blobby Bot, yeah.
Millie Blobby Bot. This is Millie Blobby Bot.
So funny.
For the bot incoming. But
I love
so that's how
that
that came about. Like it's kind of a weird story, and I was like off streaming for like 2 months because also at the same fucking time, because when it rains it pours, my computer, like the computer that I had purchased in March, my first ever gaming PC, completely like shit the bed. And I had to pay, God, I think it was something like, I forget, I want to say it was almost like $500 to ship it back because they would not pay for shipping, even though it was still under warranty. So I had no computer. I was rebranding, and it was like all of this happening at once, and I was gone for 2 months.
On top of doxing, like
on top of the doxing.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was kind of wild, but at the same time, because it was a little bit more well thought out and like what I wanted for myself and like what I felt was like right for me, it ended up being a good change. It was a good thing that happened, even though like my hand was forced. It was by far the right thing. Like, and switching to it, and like people like remembered Blobarella more. People used to call me Mr. Maid before. So it ended up being like the best thing. And like actually even taking a break, like things picked up after I came back just because it was a much better presence.
Yay. So, I love that.
It's weird.
It's one of my favorite questions to ask people from Twitch because it's always something. It's never like, oh, this is just a name I thought of. It's always something interesting, and I love that.
So it was a lot, but yeah, Buff Boy, he actually
shout
gets
out
like
to Buff Boy. Yeah. I love Buff Boy. Oh. I didn't, Buff Boy, as the name suggests, is a buff man figure, and like sometimes I get intimidated by that because I got bullied a lot growing up because I'm plus size. I've been plus size for a while and whatever. And so sometimes I get a little intimidated, but he came up to me at TwitchCon and was like, "Oh my god, Queenie!" And I was like, "You know who I am?" And he like gave me a big hug. He was like, "I love you. You're so fun. I see you in Zapster's chat and all this stuff." And then I was like, "Okay, he's real nice, everyone. He's real nice.
Good energy, good vibes.
He's so sweet." Yeah.
He's been there for me. Like he and I kind of started around the same time, and it like one point had like similar like trajectories in our growth and everything. So like it felt like we were growing up on Twitch together and like growing up in our streams together. So like we were able to share a lot of the same experiences. And I mean, he and I have just like been good friends, like kind of like all throughout. He's been an amazing part of like my Twitch family and support system. So
I love that.
Like that's probably, there's so many things that like people get into Twitch for. There's so many things that like people get out of Twitch, but for me it was definitely like the people that I built around me, like that made all of this, like all the stress and all of the like wild things that happen, like that's what's made it worth it, is like the people that I found good people.
Absolutely. And there are some people who like kind of view Twitch as like a business, and it definitely can be. I feel like for me though, I'd been on Twitch for a long time before, but in 2020 I lost all contact with my family. They kind of shut me out, and I'm very much like a sentimental person. I like having relationships with people, and so to feel like the people who should love me the most, the people who should be in my corner the most, have just like yeeted me out of existence in their lives was kind of hard. And but it was pretty shortly after that that I found, like, I call it this corner, my corner of the internet. um and like the people, they've really become my chosen family. Like, ride or dies, love them to death, have been there for me for the last 3 years now, and it's so cool and it's so incredible. And I'm glad that, like, I feel like there's sometimes where I feel like that's kind of a unique experience, but hearing it from your perspective too, Blob, it's nice to know that other people are doing that and getting those relationships out of it as well. Uh, did my
Oh.
headphones turn? Oh,
No.
I can't hear you. Okay.
She knew Discord was going to be a problem.
Oh no.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Now?
we can now.
Okay.
It cut
Okay.
out for a
Okay.
second.
See, yeah.
Sorry.
No. Again, the Discord. Ever since the ban, this has been happening. I feel like this is. My
I remember
curse,
that
like-
drama, all the Discord drama.
Yes. Oh my god, that was wild. And like that's the other thing is like my journey on Twitch has been like all over the place, like getting suspended on Twitch, getting banned on Discord. Like there's been like so many weird things that happen, but I mean it's fine. Like I've gotten through all of it. But no, what I was gonna say is like I think it is a unique experience to find that your chosen family is more important, but I don't think that it's necessarily like a unique experience in the queer community. In fact, I think most of us have found that like chosen family has become so much more important, like the people that really like lift you up and support you and kind of like get you through all of those tough times and like make you feel loved and appreciated, seen, heard, valued, which a lot of people in the queer community do not experience in their families of origin. And so
Absolutely.
like
You saying that just gave me chills.
I'm a big believer in chosen family and that there is value in it. And just because somebody is related to you by blood doesn't mean that they are family,
Yeah.
Family
100%.
treats a certain way and they represent a certain something to you. So
Yeah.
family is what you make.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I think I had this kind of epiphany a few months ago where I was going to a court event where it's very queer, drag queens, being royalty and stuff like that. And one of my favorite parts about it is that, like, I felt it doesn't matter what you wear. People are just happy to see you. Like, there are always people who show up in these really opulent gowns, wearing these crowns that are like put the queen to shame. Like, they're just huge and opulent and beautiful. And like so you have people being super elegant, and then there's people who are showing up in like jeans and t-shirts, some people who are in like tuxedos, and then there's one guy who is so iconic. I just adore him. He's always in a sequin blazer of some color, basketball shorts, and sneakers. And it cracks me up so much. But like nobody cares. They're just excited to see you in whatever you're wearing. Like, and I feel like it's such a unique thing. And I feel like that's what love should be. You should love the person regardless of what they look like on the outside or what they're wearing or whatever. You should just love the person. Where I feel like so many times it's, oh my god, like those are some pants, or that's a weird shirt, or your hair is so cool, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, but I'm still me, I'm still Queenie.
And that's the thing is like I think we are so quick to judge on like appearances and the way people like choose to like present or express themselves. And I think you see it happen everywhere you go, that like part of it is like human nature that you make a snap judgment based on how you see someone, but like being able to like kind of get beyond that and like know the person and like dive deeper into who they are, like that's like really nice to be able to do. And I think even though you see judgment everywhere, I think within the queer community we're so used to fighting to express ourselves in a way that feels like meaningful and like authentic to us, that we're a lot more understanding of seeing other people do the same thing.
I am
absolutely.
no stranger to unlearned behavior here in the South, and I'll catch myself doing it. Someone can walk in wearing something that I might not wear, and my immediate thought is like, "Girl, you're wearing that," and then I have to be like, "Marv, why does it matter? Like, they look great. They obviously are happy wearing it." Like, it's a lot of unlearned things you've got to kind of catch yourself on and be like, I walk in looking like a clown to bars on weekends. Why am I sitting here judging this sorority girl at Walmart? Like, I've just got to be
I
like,
love you. Like, oh my God. But no, yeah, and I will say like being my age is like another thing. Like where, I look at these younger generations and how easy it is for them to be so much more like open and accepting of things. But like, the time period that I grew up in, it really has taken a lot of unlearning, a
Yeah.
lot. And like I still see like people my age like saying things like that's so gay or like using the R word, and I'm like, I know we all know better, like, but it takes work. It takes work to unlearn those things and like the way you were conditioned socially growing up, and definitely in the South, definitely in the South, and it's like all like that very like, oh, bless your heart kind of thing like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Barbara's like, yes. But yeah, I feel that. I feel that deep in my soul.
if you live any proximity within a Bojangles, you know exactly what bless your heart means.
It's not good.
And I'll stand by them. But it is harder when you're older, especially like coming out later in life. Finding like everyone knows what chosen family is, and like you're in this community now and it's all about chosen family, and that can be intimidating and it can be hard like to later in life. Like I had a great relationship with my parents growing up, and then when I started unlearning behaviors and finding out more about like who I am as a person and like what makes me happy and like my sexuality, it obviously put a strain on my Southern Christian parents and my relationship. So I it was kind of nerve-wracking having to be like, or our like chosen family now, like it's that or nothing, and like how do I find chosen family? Like how do I like enter in this community that I feel like I haven't been a part of or like wasn't able to until like now? It's very overwhelming to come out later in life, and so I'm so happy that Gen Z is like so aware of themselves and so confident in who they are, and they're not going to have a lot of behaviors they're going to have to unlearn, which is a very nice plus of the environment they've created for themselves.
Really, really refreshing to see. And I'm like, I hate to like put the burden on these younger generations, but like I almost feel like they're going to save us from ourselves a little bit,
Absolutely.
And they're more like socially and politically aware and active than I certainly was. I graduated high school in 2002, and I don't remember anybody like talking about like social issues or politics or anything like that. So, and I did not become aware myself until like college, like early college and everything. I started to kind of like come into that a little bit more. I I have like this weird thing where it's like I was raised with like very liberal parents, but also like not in like a great environment. So like there was a lot of things that like already were totally fine. Like I knew like I had grown up around like gay people because my mom had gay friends and stuff. She's an artist. So, like that was never anything that like I thought twice about. Like I had lots of gay friends like in high school and everything. Friends that came out in middle school, which is amazing to think about, especially that like time period, like coming out, because it still was like, I mean, even today, it can be a struggle sometimes for like young people to come out. But, you know, because I didn't, even though I had been around it, I'd been in the community for such a long time, I always like presented as an ally because I still didn't have like a lot of security in who I was just from how I grew up. And it was not until I was in my 30s. Like I did not come out until my 30s. Like,
Yeah.
and
And
it
I
was,
think,
oh,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you and I have really similar stories because we were both married to men when we were like, hey, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is kind of a unique experience. Marv is also currently married. Well, like I don't want to say that as if you're not soon going to be married. You are married to a man, but you knew that you were queer before like entering that relationship. Where I feel like Bob, I think you might understand more than some that like there's a terrifying pressure to be like, oh my God, I've married this person. We're together, right? And now I have to drop this huge fucking bombshell on them and hope that it's fine. You know, like it's so scary to do that.
Like married with 2 kids and like, I even like had these like internal conversations. I'm like, well, I'm married, I have 2 kids. What's the point? You know? Like, what's the point? I'm in my 30s. Like my life is settled at this point. Like I don't anticipate like having another like partner like ever in my life. So it's like, why? And you know, I was like kind of like quietly open with some people. The more I got around people like on the internet that were like open and like were also like by women who were like married, didn't kind of like accept that until after they were married and they also had kids. Like I started getting more comfortable with that. And I'll be really honest. And it's so weird because like I am someone who is like when before I was out, like there was like this whole thing with like Chick-fil-A, like where when people found out like just how like homophobic Chick-fil-A was. And I'm trying to think, this had to have been like probably in between my 2 children. Like one was born in 2008, the other was 2013, or maybe like shortly after my son was born. And there were like people like who packed the Chick-fil-A's, the local Chick-fil-A's. And I was like very brazen and like went to the Chick-fil-A's with a sign that said God is not a bigot and like walked into the restaurant, walked around like, so it's not like I was someone who was like not very active and like an ally and a strong ally and like advocate and voice. It was just about like this inside. And it really honestly was not until I was on Twitch that I started really openly speaking about it. Like that's how recent it was for me that I was like very open about my sexuality and who I was, which is bananas to think about.
Yeah.
Like I'm so old. But
I
you
feel
know,
like
it can happen at any time and it was like such a good thing to like really just live openly and honestly about. And I think that's the point. Like even if you know you're in the right relationship and you're settled down, there is still like some part of you that it's exhausting to
Yeah.
like to have that and like to just be able to say like this is who I am and I'm happy where I am as well. Like
yeah. And I found
so
a lot of solace, and there's a subreddit called Late Bloomer Lesbians. Um and it's women, some of them are in their 20s, but some of them are in their 60s.
Yeah.
And they write these I can't talk about it too much or I'm gonna fucking cry because I'm a fucking baby. But they write these really heartfelt posts about how like they're in their 60s and they say like my life is over basically. Like I've gotten to live longer than a lot of people do, and I'm realizing about this myself now, and I don't want to die not having said this to someone. I want to say this while I'm still here, you know? And so even if it's just like secretly to this like community on Reddit, you know, like these women are coming out and like finding companionship and camaraderie and these other women who get it to that extent. But like to me, I think Bob, like you said, it's not too late. Like there are times where I'm still in my 20s. Though if you ask my stepsister, she'll tell you I'm nearly fucking dead. Like, goddamn. They're 14 and they're so hostile, it's fine.
The queens I hang out with are 20 and 21. Yeah, they
Oh
they
my
act like
gosh,
I'm
it's
one foot in the
awful.
grave.
They're just like oh, you're 1 foot in the grave over there, huh? And I'm like, I'm not 30 yet.
My drag mom
But-
is younger than me. It's
Oh my gosh.
It's humbling.
It to me, I feel like there's part of me that like looks back on my teen years and I'm like, oh, it would have been so fun to be out when I was younger, you know, and maybe like it would reshape your whole life. But I feel like it's never too late, and there's such a freedom that comes with like dressing how you want and acting how you want and just being who you are and thinking to yourself, God damn, that's a hot woman over there. And then being like, I'm fucking gay. And being able to like say that to people, you know, like there's just a freedom and it's so
I think
it
we
feels
owe
like
that to
a
the
deep
internet,
breath.
like Twitch, Reddit, YouTube, TikTok. Like
100%.
the internet has just created so much space for people to really explore who they are and like make those secret confessions and then like come to
Mhm.
terms with it because they've said it out loud. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Twitch is it's so easy to just find your people.
Yes, and I feel like
Right.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's such a it creates such a web where like you could be the only queer person in your town, but you can have a
Yeah.
community that's hundreds of queer people, you know?
And I think
And
that's
that's
why some
so
of these
cool.
women don't come out until their 50s, 60s cuz they didn't have that camaraderie growing
Yeah,
up.
and I
And
feel
when you
like
make those other friends, it's so much more comfortable and it's that chose it comes right back chosen family wrap around.
yep. Yeah, and I feel
And
like that it's by design that people want the man, the society, they want you to feel isolated and make you feel like what you're going through isn't normal, what you're feeling isn't normal. So you can like conform to what they want you to be,
It's
you
conditioning
know? Yes, exactly. But
and unlearning those behaviors. Full circle.
full
full
circle,
circle,
we're
Wrap
back to it
around.
bringing it
again.
We're going to do a wrap
bringing it
around.
around. It like something that I often say that I think like I want to like communicate about this like whole thing is that like I hope that I never stop learning and I never stop evolving as a person because literally the world is always changing and always evolving and I hope that I continue to learn new things about myself and like find acceptance in those things about myself like as I get older because like the more that things change the more I'll realize and learn things about myself and I think people think that they come to a certain age and they get to just be done, they get
Yeah.
to be done like learning, changing, evolving. And I hope that that's not something that I ever like get to because I always want to continue to find myself and see what suits me as a person. And then like, I don't want to like get left behind, so to
Yeah.
speak, by society because I've gotten like stuck and I can't like get it together beyond that point. So,
Absolutely.
Period.
I do
yeah.
have a question for you, Blob, and it's not one that I wrote down, but I feel like it's kind of a unique experience in the queer community to have kids. Um, and I've heard from other queer people in somewhat recent months too that they don't necessarily they want to have kids, but they can't imagine having kids in the life that they're leading right now, like either as a drag queen or just as a queer person.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to see like what is your experience with that?
I could not fathom
I
having a kid bringing it to the bar to a drag show.
So here's the thing. I think the thing that people are like, oh, your life won't change that much. That's bullshit. First of all, that's bullshit. You are making room for an entire, like, other human being. And at some point, like, that human being is going to have, like, their own, like, needs, like, wants, desires, opinions. Oh, the opinions. But no, you are making space in your family for a whole other human being. And you know how hard it is sometimes just to balance and juggle things between you and your partner. Now think about like adding a kid to the mix, and kids are very busy and they have a lot of things going on. I got pregnant very young, very, very young. Um, and my entire lifestyle had to shift and change. And I was happy to like terrified, but also happy to make those changes. But then there was like this loneliness that came with it because I was the only person having a kid at that age. I was 23. Nobody else was ready. I was partying a lot. I was out at bars and clubs a lot. And, my friends wanted to still keep going out. And I was at home, like pregnant or with a baby. So like my friend circle changed and the things that I started doing for myself for fun started to change because it didn't appeal to me to like go out to a bar anymore. I think that you can make any kind of job and dreams like work. I mean, if you want to. If you want to have kids and you want to still do drag, absolutely do it. But like you probably aren't going to bring your kid to the bar and you're going to need someone to like watch them or like, your partner stay home or if you're a single parent, which is also like very hard. I don't even want to get into like talking about the cost of childcare, but like you can still make those things happen for yourself. But absolutely, things are going to change, and you will not be living the same life anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I think that's like an unrealistic thing to tell people, because I heard people be like, "Oh, it's not going to change that much." I'm like, okay, sure.
I think every parent should have that mindset, though. If you want a kid, you've got to know that it's not just a cute baby that you get.
Yeah.
It's going to become a whole person.
It is a lifelong.
Right.
You never stop being a parent, no matter how old you get, no matter how old they get. Like, this is years and years and years. And I mean, just naturally, your life changes over the years anyway. But again, you're adding a whole other human to the mix that has a lot of demands, a lot of needs. The unfortunate thing about humans is that we are very bad about we are bad at taking care of ourselves for a very, very long time. Like, there's a lot of parenting that happens. And, even at 18, when a lot of kids like leave the house for the first time, it's still not done, like
it just
they're still not
changes. Yeah.
fully independent adults. And, our brains don't even like finish developing until we're like 25 or something like that.
27.
So, like, it's 27?
I think women is 25, men is 27.
Oh. In nursing school, they told me 27, but I am fully understanding that could be very wrong. There were other things that I learned in nursing school that ended up being very wrong.
I am 27 right now, and I have absolutely no baby fever, no desire. I have friends who are pregnant, have kids, don't want them. Not in my wheelhouse right now. But I tweeted this a couple of weeks ago. My mom has now been starting pressuring me, and my whole family's jumped on the bandwagon of, when are you gonna have a kid? Why don't you have a kid? Why don't you want a kid? Like, have a kid. You should have a kid now. Like, you're getting too old. You need to have a kid. And I just don't want one. And my mom's response to me saying, I just don't want one right now, she goes, well, who's gonna take care of you when you're older? I was like, what a terrible pressure to put on a baby, that I'm having you so that you can take care of me later. No. I was like, is that why you had me? Like, you just changed my diaper so I could change yours later? That's my whole existence for life, I guess, is just to make sure you're okay later.
And I will say, I think there is a lot more pressure on people who are assigned female at birth or who are women to have kids and settle down in that way. And not wanting kids is very valid and a perfectly reasonable thing to want for yourself. And I like it. Oh God.
I just don't know why they want the people who don't want kids to have kids. Like, wouldn't those be the people you don't want to have kids?
Like, that's the thing. If someone doesn't want kids, like, why would you want to force that onto them when it's so stressful and so fucking hard? Like, you have to go into it wanting it. Like,
yeah, and I feel
with the knowledge that it's going to be difficult, you've got to like want to do this. And like, this is why I never ask people when they're going to have kids, if they're going to have kids, if that's something that they want to share. And like, also, like Queenie talked about fertility issues. You don't know about like other things like that when you start bringing it up, and what a sensitive subject that can be. But like,
I'm such a petty fucking bitch now when people say it. Like, there was one time I will just flat out say it now. Like, anytime I'm nauseous, anytime I puke, people will be like, oh, are you? And I'm like, no, I'm fucking infertile. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, you don't have to be so harsh about it. I'm like, you asked the question, I answered. What do you want from me? Or like,
it's like personal too, and like private. Like,
if you think it's personal for me to tell you that I'm infertile, then you should also think it's personal to ask somebody if they have kids or want kids.
Period.
Like, it's because it's not like I'm telling you unnecessary information. I'm telling you I'm infertile. I cannot have kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's the answer to the question that you asked me, But
the response, but like, maybe don't ask that question.
Exactly. If you're not prepared for you don't want me to answer it, don't fucking ask.
I will say, Blob, yeah. I think you were built to be a mom. You were such a good mom. Like, seeing the things that you do share about like your family and like the tweets that like you've put out of just like, conversations you've had with your kids. I'm like, this is not even an exaggeration. I hope you blush. Get your rosacea ready. Like, it literally brought tears to my eyes of like, Blob is like the mom I wish I had. Like, I think everybody needs that mindset, and like, you were just built for it. You're just built different. I'm glad you're the one procreating and not me, because like, that's who needs to be procreating. Oh, there goes Discord.
Oh,
it's okay.
God.
All I said was
it's back.
All I said was so. very young, lost some friends because they didn't have supportive families. Very young, saw the damage that caused, and like saw the hurt and the pain. And also like my first year in college, I want to say, like we did a play that we wrote ourselves called Out, and we had like a Q&A feedback after, and it was all about like the queer experience. Now granted, this was like 2002. Again, I'm old. But like hearing what people said, and like even like presenting things in such a thoughtful, truthful, and like loving way that people still like were so, because this is Texas after all, still were not accepting. And then there was one person I remember who stood up and was like, I used to have a very negative opinion of gay people. Like I was very homophobic, and like tonight you changed my mind. And I think that's like that was a huge shift for me at that point when someone said you changed my, like that was probably like the most powerful thing that's ever happened. Seeing somebody actually have their mind changed and become more accepting. And I think like that was the point that I started to like really be even more openly vocal and fight against the stigmas, and like become more involved in the community. And the more I saw, like the more pain that I saw. And I just, as a parent, what blows my mind is I cannot imagine rejecting your own child. I cannot imagine just completely rejecting your child, like just because of their sexuality. Like that fucking blows my mind. And as someone like who grew up in a very traumatic household, and the pain that my parents made me feel, like when I became a parent, I was like, I cannot fathom this. I cannot fathom it. And so very, very early on, I was like, I don't know how my kids are going to identify down the road. And I have to start the messaging when they are very young, that they will be loved, that they will be accepted, that they will be safe here. So should they ever have something that they need to come to us with or tell us, that it is not a scary situation, because that's the last thing that they should be dealing with, because there's going to be so much hate. There's going to be so much bullshit outside of the home that should be your one fucking safe place is your own home and your family.
Absolutely.
That needs to be your one safe place. You need to have that. And like your family support, especially like reading up on like the experiences of young queer people, like it makes such a huge difference. It makes such a huge difference between having a supportive family and not.
If you cannot accept the fact that your kid might be LGBTQ and raise them in a loving home, you should not be having kids.
Conversations that we had starting very, very early on with our kids. And also just like, I remember having conversations at a very young age that like, I remember like when Trump was elected, and like when he was running, and like the narratives that were going around, especially again, fucking living in Texas. I was like, I know that we are going to have to be very proactive about the messaging that we are sending our kids. And, I remember talking about like the wall and the racism with like refugees, and like, as someone who is extremely privileged and cis and white, I was like, it would be very easy for me to not have these conversations because these are not our reality. You know what I mean? Like we don't deal with these problems. And you have to have those uncomfortable conversations. You have to get over your own discomfort as a parent to make sure that your kids like grow up to be comfortable with certain things, and also go out into the world as like good humans. You know what I mean? You have to get over your own bullshit and your own like hangups and your own discomfort, which is very hard sometimes.
Well, I think that too is why, like, when we were in high school, we weren't very political. No one really talked about politics, is because no one was having those tough conversations with us at home. It was extremely like just living in your little privileged bubble.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is very easy to do. It is the world is built for the people of privilege. And if you're a person of privilege, it's very easy to stay in that place. So,
yeah, I feel like my mom, I think my parents did want kids, but I don't think they wanted kids for the right reasons. Like I grew up Mormon, so grew up in a very religious setting, you know, where like from the time you're a toddler, they're setting you with this narrative of you're going to grow up, you're going to get married in the temple, you're going to have kids, you're going to have this forever family. And I went to church by myself when I was young, like because it was a community that I needed a supportive community because my home life was falling apart. And my mom has said several times that she feels like she had followed this recipe of doing what she was supposed to do, of going to BYU, getting married, having kids, and then everything fell apart. Like she got divorced. It was a very nasty divorce, and things were not easy. Things were really, really difficult for her. Like she didn't go to work, or she didn't work or go to school for 13 years while she was married to my dad, and then they ended up getting divorced, and so she had no work history and no degree to go back to, and really had to rebuild her life from nothing. And it was really difficult, and now she's doing a lot better, and in that way I do like respect her, and that's some shit to do. Like she did a lot. Um, but to feel like I was part of a recipe for her success, you know, for her
Yeah.
like future happiness, or like I was part of a recipe so that she could get these like promised blessings, you know, is a thing that they say in the church and stuff. Um, it sucked because like they didn't come true, or it didn't happen the way she wanted it to or the way she thought it would. And then like the people who ended up getting shorted in the situation was me and my brother, right? And it like I feel like I go back and forth where sometimes it seems like she did want me to have kids, or she did want kids, she did want me, but I feel like more than anything, like if you ask her, she says like I did want kids. I had kids because I wanted them, but I feel like the adage there, the footnote is that she wanted kids because it was a promise for more blessings, or it was a promise for something good, and then when good things didn't happen, you know, she was like, well, now I'm stuck with these two kids, you know. But
Like tainted like the relationship and like how she felt about having kids.
yes,
Despite her
yeah,
like having wanted them.
I feel
yeah.
bad for our parents' generation because not only were they're poisoned with lead. Everyone over 45 is just lead poisoning biohazard, but they also
It's
don't
true.
know like anything about like trauma, like anything
Yes.
about unpacking their trauma or like dealing with it, going to therapy, like finding like coping mechanisms. Like just none of them have any of those.
Or empathy. I feel like the
Right.
thing with my parents is they have
my God.
no empathy.
That's part of the
Like-
lead
like-
poisoning. That's a side effect.
It's like I tell them about things that happened to me, and they can't fathom that like it would be a struggle for me. They're like, well, you're not making cereal with powdered milk, so like how could it be that bad? And I'm like, I'm not saying that wasn't hard. I'm just saying that this situation was difficult for me.
Or where they're like, in
You know?
my day, I had it harder. I'm like, all right, we need to unpack that. Let's talk about how you had it harder and why you feel like you need to put that societal pressure on me. Like,
The older generation saying they had it harder. I'm like, let's fucking talk about that. About like how you were able to like go to college and like work a job, maybe even not, because college was affordable, and then you could afford to buy a house, and you didn't have these like skyrocketing like interest rates and shit like this, and like, you know, the cost of living was way less, and like what you were earning like was enough to like have a very comfortable lifestyle. And like, boy, let me tell you, all of the shit that like, because you're both millennials, right?
Yeah.
I'm on the cusp.
Cut. So sorry. Me too, just on the other end. Fucking young bitches. No.
We're in our 20s.
But like close to it, like, you know, people like definitely take a look at like the millennial generation. They're like, oh my God, they're not doing anything. Like they're lazy, they're unmotivated. They talk about us like we're all like these like teenagers. And I'm like, these are full of like grown adults. Like I will be 40 in a year. Like we're not talking about young people, but we are talking about a people that were like very like beat down by the decisions of the previous generations. You know, like let's take this back to Reagan and like the downfall that we saw like from there on out. And like it has been so much harder for us to succeed in the way that the previous generations did. So like, please tell me how it's been hard for you.
So why I saw
Please.
I think it was on Twitter that was like the millennial issue is that I'm making more than both my parents combined, but am stuck in an apartment because I can't afford a house. And I'm like, it's so true. Like, because currently, especially combined, my spouse and I make a lot of money. Money that like 10 years ago would have been like chef's kiss, we're going to Hawaii every other weekend, right? But like we're in an apartment, we can't afford a house, we can't afford a down payment. Like luckily, I mean we can't afford a lot of things. And luckily Dan is aware of his privilege and is like, let's give our money to drag queens and to people of color and to people on Twitch. You know, people who like can't afford the things that we have.
The drag
because,
queens,
like,
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love
Tip your
drag
queens.
shows. Yes,
love
please
drag,
tip the fucking queens.
If you love drag, it's not just about Drag Race. It's about your local queens because all the Drag Race queens come from somewhere, and fucking tip your queens because they
And like you think
hard.
you see some interesting cool shit on Drag Race, let me tell you, the things that I have seen in local drag shows, top notch. It's wild, it's fantastic, it's amazing. But the thing that like I don't have kids, but I will I have a stepsister and they know that I will throw hands for them. Like from the time that they were little, like our parents have been together since they were like a year and a half old, and they know they're like technically I've told them technically we're not sisters, we're not related by blood, but we are fucking sisters. Like we know like we're together. Like I've got you, you've got me, we've got this, you know? And especially like now they will be 15 this year, and like they have a friend who's trans, and like there's been some tension there like with because my parents are homophobic and stuff like that, and they know I'm like, you say the word, I will be on the next flight to get you and your friend. Y'all live with me for as long as you fucking want. Like you're here, you've got a safe place, you know? And like being in the situation where like I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but being in a situation where I needed a place to go when I was 14, when I was 15, like it made me so passionate to be able to accommodate that space for other people, for anybody. You know, you don't have to be a teenager, but especially these kids, you know, like you said, Blob, like these kids are being kicked out of their house. Like not only are they not able to finish high school, they literally can't get a job. They're like having to do things under the table because their families are just like, bye. God's telling me to kick you out of my fucking house. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm sure that's what God said.
A parent, like, it's fucking unfathomable to me. It is
imagine saying
knowing
that to anybody.
the
Never
love
mind
that
my
I feel for my
kid.
children. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I it blows my mind. And, you know, there isn't even just like an issue of acceptance for the sake of your own children. But like these younger generations, because they are more accepting, may like not want to have anything to do with you anyway, regardless of whether or not they identify as a member of the queer community. They're going to have friends, they're going to have loved ones,
Exactly.
they're going to have people that they care about, and they're still going to be like, y'all are fucking like ridiculous, like peace, I'm out. Like, you know, you are ostracizing your children in so many ways, and you're also like just instilling like such toxic values into them. And you know, if the roles were reversed, you know, I mean, not like we don't hear it, people love to talk about, like, people who are not oppressed love to talk about how oppressed they are.
Oh my gosh,
they love to talk about how oppressed
wild
they are.
To me.
Yeah. So, you know, I just feel like if the tables were turned, like, you would not actually like or accept what was happening if you were actually fucking oppressed. So like, let's think about that for a minute. By the way, you're not.
Yeah.
just to reiterate, you're not fucking oppressed.
You know what another thing I hate about this generation is?
Yeah.
Is they were always the ones to be like, oh, the millennials got everything handed to them. They got a trophy for just showing up. Everyone got a participation trophy. Do you think those kids were giving themselves trophies? Who was making the trophies and giving them out, Larry? Like, what do you mean?
Right? It was the adults.
It's so true.
They're like,
Yeah.
everyone got a participation trophy. I'm like, who do you think gave it to us? Like,
That was an adult decision, but sure, go ahead and like be mad at us for your decision.
do you think my 11-year-old ass from T-ball went down to the trophy store to go buy myself a trophy?
Absolutely.
No.
And also, like, we were, so many of us were like the scapegoat kids, where like, my parents forced me into all of the gifted programs possible so I could be the gifted kid. And it would always be like, Queenie's so smart, she's in the gifted program. And it's like, that's not for me. It was for them, so they could go brag to their friends, you know, Martha and Brenda, and be like, hey, my kid's better than your kid. She got a participation trophy and she's gifted. And I'm like, you know what that gave me?
Were you
It
the
gave
oldest
me
child?
It gave me an unfortunate gratification thing. It
You were-
made me.
you were the oldest
I don't want
child?
to say. I
I
don't
was the
wanna-
oldest child.
I'm the second of two, the third of four, the middle of 7, and also the middle of 3. But I spent most of my time growing up alone.
Like, I'm really bad at math, but like that one really hurt my brain.
Yeah, so I have one biological brother who's older than me, but then we got split up, and then my mom's second husband had 5 kids, and I was the 4th of 7, I think.
I don't know, Queenie.
then-
This is a lot of numbers. You might have belonged in the gifted program.
True. Maybe I am
Like,
gifted.
no matter how many times you give me those numbers, they will not stick because let
Yeah.
me tell you, the math
Yeah.
is not math in this head. I was a creative kid.
I don't know.
I didn't
know
go to
how-
school for math.
Yeah, no.
Me either.
Oh my god, I almost didn't graduate high school because of math, and like, which is like wild because I was not like unintelligent. Just math like breaks my brain. I do not like it, but like I was, oh my god, this is gonna sound like humble brag, but I was like reading at a college level by like middle school, but like math, it was like that was the one thing that held me back, and also being bored to fucking tears. I was like, I don't want to do like this regular school shit. It's not for me.
It's
I
hard to
loved
judge a
school
fish
when I
by
was
its
in-
ability to fly.
by its ability to, what is it? Transcribe? Is that the
I don't remember the unquote. Yeah, that was a good one.
It's you can't judge a fish by its ability to transcribe. But yeah, absolutely. Like
Talk, the more I'm like, my body needs oxygen because I don't know how to breathe while I'm speaking.
me when I play scary games, like if I get too stressed out, I will literally just hold my breath until I pass out, and people in my chat are like, Queenie, you're turning purple. Queenie, breathe. Girl, breathe. And I'm like, it's fine. I haven't died yet. So
I think part of like for me, it's also that I have narcolepsy. So like if I get like really like stimulated by something, or like, like the conversation and like getting like passionate and fired up about stuff, my brain like processes that as stress, and then it's like, let's go to sleep because that's not gonna be the stress. Thank you. You're
I know
narcoleptic.
narcolepsy is a serious
like that.
condition. I know narcolepsy is a serious condition, but
It
it
is.
cracks me the fuck up. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
As a narcoleptic, I will admit it's very fucking funny sometimes.
If I saw you get heated at a bar and like get into a fight and then immediately just like zonked out.
like conk out.
You know who had narcolepsy though? Harriet Tubman.
That's a fun
know
fact,
that?
Queenie.
Isn't that fun?
I learned
I don't know
something
where I
new.
learned
did
it.
not
It
know
could be
that.
very wrong, but I heard it once when I was in school. Also, I
You're
thought
like-
the Underground Railroad was like an actual railroad that was underground.
I did too. For a
You know,
long
I
time.
still remember who invented the cotton gin. Eli Whitney.
Eli Whitney.
What are they teaching y'all in Texas? I'm just kidding. In the South, the education is.
The fact that that
That has stuck with
that,
me.
like-
And the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I don't know why.
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
I don't know why. I couldn't tell
That's
you the
what I'm afraid of.
Pythagorean theorem, but I could tell you who invented the
Pythagorean theorem.
is that
Girl.
a squared plus b squared equals c squared? Is that what it is? Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, and it's sides of a triangle,
Mm-mm.
Is it?
Yeah.
isn't it?
Remember when we talked about pissing ourselves?
Let's get back to that. That makes way more sense.
Y'all remember where we
started?
started and where we are now?
We were talking about like pissing and shitting ourselves, and now we're talking about mathematical formulas.
Pythagorean theorem.
My favorite part is, do you want to know? So we've been talking now for an hour and a half ish. Do you want to know how many questions we've gotten through?
Well, so you asked me my name. I talked about coming out, but we didn't ask it.
You did ask another question that wasn't on there. Are we counting that?
No.
Oh yeah.
Out of
you
the
asked me
questions
about,
I wrote down, we've answered one.
But like technically, one of the questions was like your coming out story, and I kind of
Yes,
did.
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
We'll say 1.5.
Welcome to Twitchy Blob. I hope your
Welcome to
expectations were
Twitchy.
met.
Oh, more than.
Good.
I love it. Honestly, though, like like questions are great. Like just to like especially if you need it. Like if things are kind of like, like and you need to like kind of pick things up, but like
we rarely need them.
just
It's so
chilling
true.
and having like a good chat and conversation is like
and I
the
feel
best part
like
at the end of the day.
part of the reason I've been loving doing this is like we're all queer women, but like what we do is so different. Like even just between me and like all three of us, like we have things that are in common. Like we're all queer, we're all familiar with Twitch, but we all are so different. Like Marv's a drag queen, you're a mother, I'm here.
What?
Here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
That's enough.
No, you're so much more than that. Like, my background is actually like in theater and fine arts and film. Was an actor at one point. Now I'm a mom and a streamer. Like Queenie like studied nursing and like have worked in the medical field, and now you're here. Like it's so wild, like because I think like previously like you would definitely be more in touch with people who had extremely similar backgrounds, like especially growing up, like your friends are your friends because like of a shared location.
Yeah.
In college, your friends are your friends because you have more shared interests and more shared life goals. What is amazing about like the internet and Twitch, like there's so many like bad things that can happen, but also like what's incredible is like the amount of people that I've been able to connect with and meet with from such a wide variety of backgrounds and like people that I don't think I would be friends with otherwise. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
where I
Like-
would have been able to encounter.
Like if Buff Boy and I went to the same school, I would have avoided him like the plague because of what we talked about before of like just my previous experience of people who were into fitness like that, and just like making the snide comments, usually not very aggressively, but like oh, that's a lot of food. Oh, like look, or they'd call me Miss Piggy, or like just really awful things, But like now, having met him and gotten to be around him, like he's so nice, and I'm glad we're friends.
I like that we're all different ages, come from different places, different backgrounds, but a lot of our experiences are so similar. And I think that's kind of comforting.
It
Absolutely.
is actually.
That other
It
people also pee when they sneeze.
I do a lot.
Yeah.
They gotta have a lot of underwear, but the whole Miss Piggy thing reminded, like I grew up, overweight and heavy for, but I like look back at pictures, like people thought I was, but like again, this is like.
Oh, I would kill to
Going
look
back
like
to
what I
like
did in high
600.
school. I would kill somebody to look like how I did in high school.
I was not, but like I definitely got called Miss Piggy, but like I turned it into something fun, and now I can do a really, really good pig noise. Would you like to hear it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it.
How do I make that the new sound of our intro when we come in?
Just that repeated several times.
I don't even know like how I eventually figured that out, but I was like, fine, you want to like make fun of me? I'm gonna like turn it around into something silly and fun. And now it's a favorite party trick of mine to do my pig
I love
noise.
it. I love it. Yeah, I look back at pictures of me when I was younger and stuff, and I'm like, because I heard it from my parents.
God,
right?
I was so
And
hot.
I
I should have been taking so many nudes. Why did people tell me I was fat? I was
Yes!
so hot.
It's so frustrating because I'm like, everyone who told me that I was plus size, overweight, cute, whatever, deserves to step on a Lego every fucking day of their life, because I was not. I was so cute. I was so pretty, and I was so sad and so depressed and so not wanting to exist anymore. Like I was so sad, and I'm like, I wish I like go back in my mind and I like me now just gives her a fucking hug because it's sad. We're so mean to each other. We're so mean to other people. And we don't deserve it.
Came from my own mother, by the way.
Exactly. Same.
My own mother. I cannot imagine saying shit like that to my daughter. Like, my own mother telling me that I was fat, and I look back at these pictures, I was like, what the fuck was she thinking?
And
when
they
I
should
went to
know
prom,
better.
I was a size 2. A size 2 from like a fancy so like the dress was like tiny. I still have this dress, and I'm like, I couldn't even put my thigh in this fucking dress now. But I was convinced I was fat, and I like was looking about these prom pictures, and I was like, God, my tits were great. Like,
I should have taken more
looked so
nudes.
good. Like, what was I thinking?
Exactly.
Thinking myself that much at 18? Because, like, damn, girl. Like,
Or like I was kind of thick, with a couple of C's. And I'm like, now the girls who are thick like that make bank. They make so
Yeah.
much fucking money doing like OnlyFans or just dancing or whatever. And I'm like, I can shake my boobs. That would be fun.
I had such a cute ass.
I will say, I am very glad, even though. Okay, so I'm glad for 2 things. One, that like pictures like in social media were not as big when I was going through my my phase where I lost a lot of my inhibitions. But there's also like a part of me that's like, I really wish someone had taken a picture like when I flashed at a bar or something, because it'd be great to look back and be like, yeah, oh, I looked pretty good. Like,
Hot as fuck. Well, you're still hot as fuck. All of us are. I'll say it.
but
Paris
mean,
Hilton was just
I-
talking about that, how like back in the day when you would go to the bars and stuff, no cameras, no phones, no social media, no one would be the wiser of like what you did.
More
kind of
anonymous.
nice. It was kind of nice to like, because like, I'm not saying like I did anything that like would be like, I guess like cancel worthy, but like
Scandalo.
it definitely like being able to like mess up and learn as a young person without being constantly reminded of it and shamed, and like have to like try and like get some of that down off the internet, and like have so many people like see those like things. Like, I think it's important for young people to be able to make mistakes and learn. And we put
Yeah.
a lot of pressure on people to be perfect. So
There's definitely
I
pros and
also-
cons to the internet now. There's definitely
Yeah.
a magnifying glass.
Absolutely. So like growing up in a hyper religious setting, I was really shamed for any sexuality that I expressed. Even just like having boobs, like I don't know if people know this, but like it's not like you order them from a catalog and they appear one day. Like this is just how my body formed, okay? But like people in my junior high school made an anonymous Gmail account. I still remember her name, Kayla Cade. It was a fake name. So if that's your name, I am so sorry.
I'll bleep it.
don't
If-
go find Kayla Cade.
But they were like, Jesus would want you to be more modest. And I'm like, I'm wearing a fucking t-shirt. I'm sorry you can see my boobs, but like, what do you want me to do? Like, these are just what I have.
Are you
God.
mad I'm showing my boobs, or are
I-
you just mad that I have boobs?
Exactly. And it's not like,
That-
it was like I was wearing t-shirts like this, where it's like, obviously I have boobs, but it's not like, it's not low cut or anything. It's not too tight. And it sent me into a spiral for years. Where now, and I also, sorry, Blob. I want,
No,
like,
I have words.
the
Get
part
your
of it
nips
that
pierced.
was so frustrating to me
You should
is
pierce
like
your
now
nips.
being in the queer community, I'm like the like churches or like spirituality holy institutions don't want teenagers to have sex because first of all they I think part of it is that they don't want kids to have children to have children, which I think is fair, but I think the other part of it is that like if the children figure out that they don't want to have sex with men, that they're gay or bisexual or whatever, they're gonna leave the church because we've just told them for their whole fucking lives that being gay is bad, and now like they don't want us to figure it out, right? And it just drives me.
My family
crazy.
scared me for years about teen pregnancy and that I shouldn't get pregnant. And now that I'm 27, and now all of a sudden they want me to have a kid, I'm like, where was the same energy?
First of all, like the whole like growing up in the South, like abstinence only sex education was a thing. It is the least effective form of sex education. Comprehensive sex education does way more to prevent teen pregnancies and STDs than any of this like other bullshit and just telling kids don't do it. Like it's not helpful. It's not helpful to anyone. We have to have like realistic conversations that like sex is, you know, for most people, unless you're like asexual, that like a normal healthy part of it being an adult, and it's okay to enjoy it and it's okay to want to do it. But then also like there comes this thing that like we teach that particularly femme presenting bodies are inherently shameful. Like
Or inherently sexual. Yeah.
inherently sexual or inherently shameful. And I think those things like kind of like come to like go together with this like abstinence only, and then like the female body or femme presenting bodies are shameful and sexual. Your body is neutral. Your body is your body. Your body is like this amazing, incredible thing, but like as is, it is not sexual. It is neutral. It becomes sexual when you have people who are consenting and want to engage in that. That's what makes your body sexual.
Yeah.
And the amount of shame, like being bigger chested and stuff, I've had people make comments like, you know, about like covering up. And I'm like, just because I happen to have a little bit of cleavage does not mean that I am like inappropriate. Apparently I am in your eyes, but what blows my mind, and maybe this is a South thing, that like more of those comments have come from women than men.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I found out later that it was like a group of 6 or so friends of mine. And all of them were women. All of them were girls.
To add on
It's
to like how
nice.
your body is neutral, my absolute favorite thing is when old white Republican men are like, children should not be at drag shows because it's too much sex. I'm like, so you think drag queens are sexy? So you think the drag queens are sexy? So what
The
you're
dolls are
saying?
going, the
So
dolls
what
are
you're
going.
saying is the girls are the girls, the dolls are the
Yeah.
dolls.
Oh my God. I need to use that response going forward. That's
That's
the
my
fucking
favorite.
irony of it all is that like a drag queen in like any sort of outfit, right? Even if it's like a bodysuit or a bikini, is wearing more clothes than I am. Because they're wearing
Oh,
like
yeah.
25 pairs of tights and like mesh things and bodies and pads and couch cushions.
And where I am, it's like
tops.
the big pageant drag that's really popular here. So it's like fully stoned gowns, like boas, like big hair loafs, like Eureka O'Hara loafs. And they're like, there's
Yes.
too much sex at drag shows. And I'm like, I just saw a 400-pound man like do a ballad to Celine Dion. I was like, so you think that's sexy? So what you're saying?
Absolutely.
what I'm hearing. Thank you for validating.
Now
We are
please
sexy.
tip because you're clearly impressed.
But also like having been a performer and not even coming close to putting on what drag queens do, like let me tell you, there's nothing less sexual than being like hot and sweaty in a costume and like
It's just a
multiple
little
layers.
chapstick
Like-
and BB cream blob. It's not a lot.
Yeah, drag is just a little chapstick. Yeah.
I did get read for filth because I shared the first 2 episodes of the podcast, and the amount of text messages I got from Queensia, they're like, "You weren't in drag for the podcast," and I was like, "Listen, girl."
This is not the drag podcast.
I was like, "Girl, I don't
Like-
got the time."
That's
like you, like if you know what it takes to get into drag, then you know why I'm not getting into drag.
I put my husband into drag, and he's a better tipper for it. Let me tell you.
That's amazing, honestly.
oh man.
Yeah.
He's
This
handing out 5s
conversation-
now.
Oh, is that all the? Is that Dan? Would you like to be in drag? Just kidding.
A little glue on
this
the
one-
eyebrow, their whole world changes. One fake eyelash, a wispy lash, doesn't have to be a 301. Put one fake eyelash on that man, and he will be handing out 5s and 10s at the next show. I'll tell you that.
Literally same though. I didn't realize how hard. I mean, I knew that it was very like just the makeup part of it, very technical, very intricate, very impressive. Gluing down your brows is the unspoken sleeper hit of drag.
Brows suck, and then I wear 3, 6, 7. I wear 8 to 10 pairs of lashes.
The
God
most
damn.
amazing lashes. I fucking love what you do with your lashes, but it is like I can't even
Ew.
imagine. Like I just
Excellent.
I don't know. I really like your aesthetic and everything
So-
when
I
you're in
love
drag.
it.
It's so good.
Blob,
It's
I'm
so
gonna
fucking good.
blonde.
It
Everyone
just, like,
ends
it
looking
gives.
like me.
But yeah, like just this level of makeup, sometimes I'm like,
I can't do
cannot
that.
wait until streamers. Like, I cannot wait to go wash my face, take all of this off because this feels like a lot.
Yeah.
I can't do just makeup anymore. I'm either in full drag or I'm in pajama
Really?
pants and my cardigans. And you're lucky if I put on mascara. I did not today. You're not
I've-
lucky. I'm sorry.
I fully support the no makeup and like comfy pants.
I'm wearing this makeup
If you must be
because-
in pants, comfy pants and a cardigan.
Absolutely. I'm wearing this much makeup because I filmed it for a video. So that's why. That's the only reason.
I used to get in drag to
this
film
video.
videos, and then I started enjoying life.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, the amount of time, like I was mostly like distracted and stuff, but the amount of time it took just to put this on because I am like shiny. Hello. But yeah, you know what's funny is like I put on like a top that's like fairly like decent, but I was like the top's gonna be comfortable, and then I've got like some fucking like lycra like bike shorts on underneath.
I'm wearing I'll show you my pants. I'm wearing Dunder Mifflin sweats.
Love.
Let's see if I can get my leg up high enough. Can you see? My phone just fell.
Mine are Walmart sweats that were on clearance.
I'm covering up my
Seem
hairy
like a
legs.
very like pasty knee make an appearance from time to time tonight, and it's because I've got
I love
the,
it,
the
though.
shorts
You
on.
look good, gal.
You look hot. Oh, that's
Ooh,
a
you want some
sexy day.
nappy?
You know,
want some
growing up Mormon, them knees.
nappy? It is. I'm so pale, and like I don't even think people realize. Like you could see like my hand, like when it comes up and it hits the light. Like my hands are very pale. My arms.
Put your other
like,
arm up.
It's beautiful,
I want to compare.
though.
Yeah,
I feel like my
It's my
lighting's a
scar.
little bit of a lie.
my lighting is very
mean,
warm right now because I'm very
Yeah.
pale.
Like my face looks warmer because of the rosacea and then like the makeup and stuff. But like I'm pale.
I just love your
Pale.
eyes. Your eyes are so, you have such round, beautiful eyes.
You have so much lid space. You have so much lid space. You know that? Do you know that?
Blob is just gorgeous. Let's end the
I
podcast just
remember.
complimenting Blob.
No. I do remember. Like I don't even think I like thought of it like this until like very recently. And Evie Avidius like said something. She's like, "Do you realize how much like lid real estate you have?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No."
As a fellow drag
Do
queen,
I?
I see the envy. It's a lot of. You're working with a lot of good real estate.
Are we talking about like this part here or like down here? Because
From-
they're hooded, so I feel like everything goes
Same.
away.
My eyes are hooded, but you have so much lid space that like. Did you get a brow lift? How do you have so much lid space?
No, this is just me.
This
I've always
is
looked like a
me.
cartoon character or an alien, especially when I was a baby, very alien-like. But
I
I've
think you're
just always had
beautiful.
like big eyes, and my eyebrows sit very high for some reason. I don't know why they sit so high, but that's where they are. I have a weird face, and it's fine.
You have a beautiful face.
What do
I
I,
think,
have to
like,
do in this
me too.
life for God to put me with more lid space and higher eyebrows in my next life? I don't know.
Please.
One of my favorite things
I'm thinking about
about
it.
Blob's channel is something you used to have, which was the bongo cat, and you would like pretend like it was bonging on your boobas, and I was like, boobas!
I miss Bongo Cat so much.
fun.
Rest in
So
power.
an interesting thing is that when I got suspended on Twitch and then subsequently banned on Discord, two very different things. I had some suspicions and still do that some of that was intentional.
Because of Bongo
And-
Cat?
No, because of people's feelings towards me.
Oh, like somebody
like-
reported it specifically?
Mhm, mhm.
Because I remember it happened on, you were doing like it was like a birthday roast? Was it?
Now, like,
Birthday?
granted, like, Poop Noodle might have been like stepping a toe across the line, but there were just some other things, and like, it's drama, and I'm leaving it behind in 2022. But like, that's like coming to say that like I got very scared to have certain things on stream and like show certain content, and I got a little scared to like be myself, and it definitely made me make some changes because I didn't want to give Twitch a reason to suspend me again or like have anything that somebody could like report or point to as an issue. And I
Shout out to Twitch for
miss-
making us feel like we need to police women's bodies.
yeah, like, you know, I miss Bongo Cat. For me, it was fun. It was silly. Like, I liked doing a little like shimmy.
Yeah.
I miss doing OnlyFins because to me that was like really funny, which is basically just me like talking in a sexy voice, like in the microphone, like very whispery. But like I miss doing that shit because it wasn't meant to be anything other than like just fun for me. And like So I definitely my content changed, and that's why Bongo Cat went away. R.I.P.
So
Bongo
sad.
Cat.
Meanwhile, white men on Twitch can like be transphobic and use the trans tag.
Or
and,
literally
like,
topless.
all
a whole
kinds
bunch
of shit.
But, you know, whatever.
Very few
Yeah.
repercussions. Oh my god. Just like everywhere else in life, very few repercussions for cishet white men.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a bummer. And it's like I don't want like other channels point redemptions to go away. I just want everyone to be able to like have Bongo Cat, you know, especially like free the nip. I do believe in. I think that's like something we're not like society's not yet ready for, you know. So like I just want Bongo Cat. You know what I mean? Ugh.
I feel
Two
like they can meet us in
children
the
for, like, a
middle for
year?
free the nip with Bongo Cat.
Yeah,
Right.
Meet me halfway.
exactly.
I am fully all about like breast being able to be exposed because I again had to breastfeed 2 children for a year. Like
Yeah,
that
Breasts
was
are not
like
inherently sexual. Women's bodies are
they are not inherently
Exactly.
sexual. That was a way for me to like nourish my child, and yet you know just for doing that I'm gonna get like comments and weird looks and like judgment, and it's like what the fuck else are they supposed to do other than that? That's what they're there for. They're not there for like your eyes or like your sexual desires. I'm sorry that you are having a hard time controlling yourself, but that's not my fucking issue.
Exactly.
They used to say the same
Not
thing
my
about
fucking-
ankles in the 1800s. Like,
Ooh, some sexy ankle, just like a little.
I
Like,
can't
you know, the
control
little
myself. I saw your
knee.
ankle.
The knees do it for me because I grew up Mormon. We weren't allowed to show those. Still to this day, to right now, you cannot wear jeans or shorts in any form on BYUI's campus. But yeah, this is Twitchy, where we talk about whatever the fuck we want because
Because it's our show and not yours.
Yeah, because it's our podcast and not yours.
Is that like another?
No, we came up with that.
show?
We came up with that.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
totally
original. Yeah, Marv
Perfect. I
just
love
made that
it.
up by themselves. Yeah. Mhm.
Just now, just right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
In
No.
this moment.
Yeah.
I'm the
No.
chemical berm from the spiral perm.
I am
Thank you
spokeswoman
so
of
much
the
for having me.
Serengeti. I love y'all so much, but thank you for joining us today. We'll definitely have to
love
have you on
you.
again.
Make
This
sure
was
you
really
follow
fun.
Blobarella on all socials. I will have them linked in the
We'll
bio.
have her link down below. We'll have our links down below. If you want to hang out with me outside of this and outside of my stream, follow Blob because I'm almost always at least lurking.
Wait, which way is it? This way for me.
Oh,
it's
yeah, 'cause
this
you're-
way.
I
I don't
think
know
you're in
where
the
we're gonna be.
Yeah, you're in the middle.
You know, we've got like a Brady Bunch thing happening. No,
Yeah.
I
In Discord, you're right here.
It is the Brady Bunch.
there's some cool bitches that I've heard about. Like maybe,
yeah, we're
maybe you've
just
heard of them.
fine.
Mama Queenie,
We're fine.
Marv. give
If
them
you
a
want to hang
follow,
out with me
follow.
outside of this, tip me money at a show.
Fly to Alabama. Go
And
to a
don't
show.
talk to me.
It's got to be at least a $5. At least
Yeah, $5 or nothing.
so.
Glued down. We should go to the show with eyebrows glued down and tip Marv $5.
That's.
And if you don't do
that's
it, you're not doing it right.
If you're not doing it, you're homophobic.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, slay the world.
I'm happy if one person hands me.
Slay.
I've gotten $50 and said thank you before. It was ripped right down the middle, and I was like, thank you so much.
Oh my god, I
All
can't.
right. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today,
you.
Blob.